All right, I am gonna be baking in just a little bit, so it's time to get my oven preheated, and I'll probably be back down here in like 45 minutes to start baking. All right, how about we make this yellow cake? Finally, we've got all our ingredients. They've been sitting out, they're room temperature, nice soft butter. My eggs have been out for a couple hours, and I've got my sour cream. My oven's been preheating for, gosh, it's been like an hour now. Awesome. That means, you guys, the heat in the oven, when it buzzed and gave me the alert that it was ready and it was at 350 after like 5 minutes. It's picking up like one spot in your oven. It's like, hey, you're ready. It's not ready, you guys. Give it at least 20 minutes, preferably 30. If you do more than that, hey, great. But I just promise you, you need that heat, okay, to just fill up the space in your oven just really evenly. Your cakes will bake better, more evenly, if you've preheated your oven for a good long time. So to get started on this one, so this is my classic yellow cake, which you guys, you can't ever go wrong with this cake. It was inspired by my friend Brooke from Female Foodie. This is like her favorite cake. And so I made my own version for her. And it's just like a great yummy flavor and a chocolate buttercream. It's like the perfect birthday cake. Okay, so this is 1 cup of butter. So that's 2 sticks of butter. So 1 cup of butter is 226 grams. So if you're doing some measurements, we're updating that on the blog, by the way, like should be done this week where every recipe will have grams. I did a plug-in and it just was awful. So anyway, we're going through recipe by recipe and getting that done. This is 2 cups of sugar. If you are in high altitude, I am in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. So our altitude's pretty high, but I know many of you are above me. Go ahead and just reduce the sugar to any cake recipe by 1/4 cup. Sugar weighs our cakes down in high altitude. So that's something you can just do immediately if you're worried about the high altitude. Okay, so sugar and room temperature butter. These are gonna mix for a couple minutes on their own. We want them to get light and fluffy, kind of pale in color. So let's go to medium speed and get it mixing. All right, and if you don't have a paddle attachment with like the spatula size, I haven't found one I love for my 7-quart. So if anyone has a recommendation for, you know, the paddle attachment, it has like a spatula scraper side to it. I had one for my 5-quart and 6-quart, and I love them. But no matter what, just always scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl. We're gonna get this really light and fluffy. Let me show you kind of an inside shot of how this looks. Can you see how pale yellow that is? It's really light and fluffy is pretty much the best way to describe it. Now it's ready for eggs. So this recipe calls for 5 whole eggs and then 2 egg yolks. The yolks, I mean, fat in our recipes is good because it provides moisture to our cake layers, but also it gives it a little bit more of a yellow color, like a good yellow cake. So we're gonna add these gradually. And between some of the additions, I'm gonna be scraping down the sides of the bowl just to make sure everything gets mixed really evenly. So like after that addition, we'll do it. And you guys, I forgot my oil. Let's just put that in right now. 1/3 cup oil. It can be vegetable, it can be canola. You're gonna add that. You can add it with the sugar and the butter. I was making my vanilla cake a couple times yesterday, you know, for experiment. And so I was not used to having oil around. But yes, oil goes in at this point, so it's not gonna mess me up. I added it just a little bit late. We're totally fine. Happens to the best of us. Okay, scrape down the sides of the bowl. Let's keep adding some of our eggs in here. And I'm on a 4 on my KitchenAid speed. That's great right now. Let these mix. We're almost there. Okay. All right, can you guys see how light? It's fluffy. It's like gotten more voluminous. Is that the right word? This is looking great right now. I'm gonna be going ahead and adding my flour and baking powder, my salt and sour cream. All right, so in a separate bowl, and you can do this at the very beginning, you need to measure out your cake flour, your baking powder, and a little salt. For cake flour, it's 100 grams per cup, but I always just do this. So if you are gonna use measuring cups like I do, just go ahead and spoon it in very lightly, okay? We're not shaking it, we're not packing it in. That way you get way too much of the ingredient in there and your cake would totally have a different texture. So look, can you see that? I'm just taking off the excess. and then that's 1 cup. That's nearly the identical weight of what 1 cup of cake flour is, which is 100 grams. And I'm gonna do 3 cups of cake flour. Now, when you're in higher altitude, to stabilize your cake a little bit more so it does not sink, you can always add a little bit extra flour, but only do 1 tablespoon of flour for every tablespoon called for. So in this case, if you're at higher altitude than me, or even if you're a little bit worried about the altitude here in Utah, you can go ahead and add 3 extra tablespoons of cake flour. I'll just add a couple is usually what I do. But if not, I mean, all these recipes will work. I'll kind of just lightly let that fall in, measure that off, and a little bit of salt. Now, I like to measure this separately because then I can whisk it and combine these ingredients here, and then they just mix better in the cake. Okay, before I start adding my my flour mixture and my sour cream, I'm gonna add a little bit of our extract. So we've got a clear vanilla extract that we're gonna add a teaspoon of, and then we have this clear, I was gonna say vanilla, but how about just butter? We'll just call this one butter, not vanilla, but this is butter extract. Okay, and we're adding a little bit of this just to bring out that buttery flavor of a yellow cake. Okay, and we'll mix those, and now we're ready to alternate our flour mixture and our sour cream. So it'll go like 1/3 of flour, 1/2 of the sour cream, 1/3 of flour, the other 1/2 of sour cream, and then the final bit of flour. But now, look, we're gonna go lowest setting on here. Okay? You do not want to over mix your cake batter at this point, because that's one of the reasons it's sinking if you're having that problem. So let's add a little bit of our flour mixture, about 1/3 of it, and that's just gonna mix for about 10 seconds, and then we're adding our sour cream, so 1 cup, full fat, you guys. Always, like, use the full fat stuff, because again, that just helps create moisture in your cake. All right, so some sour cream there. Oh, this cake is divine. Cake batter is amazing. I love cake batter so much. It's like cookie dough. I'm already full before it's actually baked. All right, some more sour cream. Low speed, just until you see things are incorporated. So let's get the last bit of our flour in there. Okay. 10 seconds-ish. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I thought so. Okay, we're gonna scrape down the sides, and then I'm going to let it mix for like another 20 to 30 seconds. It should be, it's a little bit thicker of a cake batter, but it's like just super fluffy. Oh my goodness. Okay. I hope you're making this for yourself, so like after you've poured all the cake batter in your pan, you can just go to town on that bowl and spatula. Okay, so like 30 seconds. Oh, it looks amazing. Okay, I gotta show you this. All right, I'll show you in just a second. Your pans, you want to spray them with nonstick spray, line the bottom with parchment paper, spray again. That is how we're like for sure gonna get our cakes out of the pans when they come out of the oven. And then I like to use a scale to weigh the batter in each of the pans so there's equal amounts there. And my oven, like I said, has been preheating, so this is gonna bake for a little bit. When you put a toothpick in the center of your cake to test it, it should come out with a few moist crumbs on it. That's when you know it's perfect. If your cakes are coming out dry, you are probably over baking. Can you see how like fluffy that is? Let me see if I can show you. Kind of light in color. It is super fluffy. Sorry, it's not zooming. Let's just give it a taste while I have it on the spoon.